Okay, so I saw this video the other day. It was Katie Couric and Bryant Gumbel back in 1994. I've seen this actually a couple times recently because it's pretty wild to watch. Katie Couric and Bryant Gumbel, they're both pretty famous newscasters. They were on the Today Show together, but they were relevant through the 90s into the 2000s and even today. Bryant Gumbel is retired, but Katie Couric is still doing quite a bit. And what was happening in this video is they were trying to figure out what the at symbol means. It was so crazy. It's like really crazy to think about now because it's so important to what we do. It was like email. They're like, what is the at symbol? What does that mean? And they're kind of like, what is the internet anyway? Like completely dismissing it as some weird fad that'll never catch on. And it got me thinking about actually how we talk about AI today. Some people think it's going to destroy the world. Other people think it'll save us. We have those two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Okay, and here's what this has to do with your essays. You're probably approaching essay writing the same way they approach the internet. This is my guess. Like it's this, based on what I'm hearing. You're thinking it's this confusing, mysterious thing you just have to figure out somehow, but it's really not. It's actually way simpler than you think. The issue is you've been taught to follow rules without understanding why those rules exist. So you keep asking me, is this good? Or what should I say here? Because you're winging it. And let me tell you, you cannot wing a good essay. So what I'm going to show you today and in these videos that I've made for you is how essay structure actually works. So not just what it is, but why it's built this way. And I think once you get that, you will have much more confidence in knowing that you're going about this in the right way. All right. So think about it like this. Writing an essay is like, stick with me, walking into a casino where the game is rigged against you. Why it's rigged. I have really high expectations for you, and so do all of your other teachers. I'm a skeptical reader. I don't automatically believe you. So you have to really prove your case. And if you mess up the structure, I get confused and your argument falls apart. I'm no longer with you. I go into the essay wanting to be with you. I can see based on the things that you do that I am in good hands with you. And when you don't have those elements in your essay, it puts me on guard as a skeptical reader. So I'm like, I don't know if I trust this person to lead me from the known to the unknown, like we talked about in class. But the good news is you can rig the game in your favor. It's like stacking the deck, and I'll show you how. If you know how arguments work, you can build out one that's almost impossible to argue against. That's your goal. So think about a courtroom. Okay, I think that this is really interesting because I'm sure I'll get into this more as the year goes on. But when we started the discipline of English, it was really closely aligned with law. And a lot of the structures and formats we use are exactly like what's used in a courtroom. So think about that. Think about a courtroom right now. Would a jury convict someone based on, well, obviously they're guilty? No, right? You need evidence. You need to walk them through your logic and you need to prove it. And that's what you're doing in your essay. So it goes along with that, like reading as a skeptic. I'm going to assume that like I go into this with my own understanding of the text. So for me to see it differently, you have to really prove it like a lawyer would prove their case. So going back to my other metaphor, would you bet money on your own argument? If not, it's not strong enough. Okay, so you can't wing it. I know some of you have been successful winging it before in all kinds of ways, but that stops working, especially as your argument gets more sophisticated. If your argument is actually good, like really good, like the way that I was saying in class, like a little bit more toward the absurd, still within the text, of course. But once you get into those more sophisticated arguments, you can't just make it up as you go. You need to have a strategy. Okay. So let me show you what essay structure actually is and why it's designed the way that it is. So this isn't random, and there's a reason for this shape. So have you seen this before? I know some years students have seen this a million times. I haven't asked you yet about this, or maybe I have if I'm reusing this video, but maybe you've seen this before, maybe you haven't, but you have the introduction, which funnels down, you have body paragraphs, these blocks, and then the conclusion funnels back out. But let me tell you what's actually happening in each part, because once you see it, the whole thing makes sense. So your introduction starts broad and funnels down to your specific claim. Why? Because your reader needs context. I can't just jump into your argument cold. I need to know what we're talking about and why it matters. And then by the end of the intro, you've placed your bet. I know exactly what you're arguing. And you can just think about this like real life. I just came from another essay. So now I'm reading yours. You need to be like, okay, here's what I'm talking about now. That's different from that person that you just read about. Okay, so then we get into the argument itself. And these should not be just random paragraphs. Each one is a solid block of evidence. You see, it's like a solid block, and it stacks on top of the last one. So each paragraph should make your case stronger. So if I pulled one out, would your whole argument collapse? Then you need it. If I could remove it and nothing changes, then it doesn't belong. So you should be building a foundation with your paragraphs. And you shouldn't just be repeating your thesis. You're zooming back out in the conclusion. So that is something that is a common issue that I see, that students want to just repeat the thesis, but it's really you're coming back out and you've already proved your case, but you're showing me how it matters in the bigger picture. And that's really the function that your conclusion should play. So you're saying, what does this mean? Why should I care? Like me, your reader. And that's where you're really trying to seal the deal. It's like your closing argument, right? Okay, so here's the question that should guide every single choice you make. Am I stacking my deck? Every sentence, every piece of evidence, every explanation, is it making my case stronger? That's what you're asking yourself. Or am I just filling space, winging it, hoping it works? And really be honest with yourself. Every sentence should be doing something in your essay. It should be filling a function that is leading you to further stack your deck. Okay. Now, here's a tool that's going to, I don't want to say it's going to completely change your writing, but I do think it's really helpful. I don't have a name for it. I'll just call it a ladder right now. Maybe by the time I go into editing, I will come up with a fancier way to talk about this. But right now, most of you are making arguments at the bottom of this ladder, or that's what you do naturally. I think all of us will initially make arguments at the bottom of this ladder, like level 1 or 2. And that's fine for observations, like this character does X, the author uses this metaphor. But that's not really an argument. It's just noticing stuff. It's obvious, right? But then as you climb up the ladder, once you get into level 3 and 4, 5 and 6, your thinking gets more complex and more nuanced. So you're interpreting, analyzing, making connections that aren't obvious, and you're building a case that actually needs proving. So the key is the higher you go up on the ladder, the more you're stacking your deck, because obvious claims are weak bets. Nobody's impressed. Nobody's impressed. But complex, thoughtful claims that make you think, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. So in the next videos, I'm going to show you exactly how to use this ladder to level up your assertions, your evidence, and your commentary. But right now, just understand that this is how you move from winging it to actually making arguments worth reading. All right, so now that you understand the structure and the ladder, let me give you 3 moves you need to master. Okay, so these are takeaways. You might want to write these down. Okay. The first is make a bet worth making. So your claim has to be arguable, not obvious, not something everyone already agrees with. If I read your thesis and I think, well, yeah, duh, you don't have an argument yet. You need something that actually needs proving. So something at the top of the ladder, not the bottom. And then you want to stack your evidence strategically. So you can't just throw quotes and examples at me randomly. Each piece of evidence should build on the last one and make your case stronger and stronger. So think about it like a tower. So if you just toss blocks in a pile, it collapses. But if you stack them carefully, it holds. Okay, so the third one is that you need to show your work. And I think that this is the one that is maybe most important to hold onto all the time because I cannot read your mind. And if the connection between your evidence and your claim seems obvious to you, then actually, that means your argument isn't complex enough. You have to spell it out and walk me through your logic. So once you get into your essay, if you're like, I don't know what else to say because it's right there in the evidence, then you need to switch up your argument because it's not strong enough. So you need to make me see what you see. You need to help me to see, like walk me from the known to the unknown. Show your work. Okay, and that's it. Those are the 3 moves. That's what essay structure helps you do. Your intro sets up your bet, your body paragraphs stack your evidence, and your conclusion shows why it matters. And at every step, you're just showing your work, making all those connections really visible to your reader. So hopefully that helps to understand that we don't have these arbitrary set of rules made to torture you, and that it really is designed to help you make an argument the way a lawyer makes a case in court. So really being strategic and convincing. So in the next videos, we're going to break down exactly how to do each of these moves. We'll go into the different parts of the essay. We'll work on building arguments and using the ladder to push your thinking and how to embed evidence so your reader can actually follow what you're saying. And also I see your sophistication so that I trust you as I'm reading, and how to write commentary that proves your point. So look, you all are really smart. I know that you can write some fantastic essays, and you don't need me to hold your hand through every essay. And you, I know, want to be more self-sufficient so that you can recognize what's good and what you can do to improve. So I think it's more like we just need to understand how arguments work and stop winging it, hoping that I'll tell you if it's good. So we'll just learn the strategy. You will learn how to stack your deck, and I'll see you in the next video.